Good afternoon, everyone. Hope things are well. The transfer window has officially opened. What a day it is. The transfer window is open until June the 10th. It will then close for 6 days with the Club World Cup ongoing. And then June the 16th, it will reopen until the 1st of September. Let's start off with the obvious point. What a stupid pause this is. What are those 6 days going to do to anyone? I mean, honestly, what is the point of closing it for 6 days? I get teams that are playing in the Club World Cup, but that doesn't stop those clubs from still being able to sign players. I don't know why they need to close it for 6 days, but yeah, sure thing. Other than that, the transfer window is now open for the next few months. And finally, Newcastle United, with Champions League football next season, have the opportunity of being able to breathe in the transfer market. We can actually go out and sign players and not have immediate FFP and PSR restrictions. We still can't go and spend whatever we want, but we do have flexibility. We can spend the players we want to bring in, and Newcastle now can finally make some big signings to improve the team that Eddie Howe has been unable to improve for 2 years, and yet we are still continuing to improve on the football pitch. It's just mental how good Eddie Howe has been doing over the last few years. But that being said, we've got a bit of a weird transfer situation going on. A player that was reported to be done at Newcastle United all the way back in February. Still not much news coming out about him. So here on this video to kind of address everything, to help you guys understand what is going on, hopefully get to the bottom of this, and just for all of you to be able to have a good understanding of the transfer market and what Newcastle will be planning to do over the next few months. But from me, if you guys enjoy the content, make sure to get down there, hit that subscribe button. Plenty of content coming out throughout the summer. It's going to be a hectic time in Newcastle, an exciting, ambitious time, and it's going to be great. So make sure you stick around if you enjoy it. Let me know your opinions down in the comments section. And let's just get straight. No, I mean, James Trafford, what the hell is going on with James Trafford now? This is a goalkeeper Newcastle has been previously linked with last summer. Newcastle put bids in for him last summer, around £15 million, as reported by Keith Downey. Burnley had no interest, rejected it, and it's been a deal where, over the course of the last 12 months, it's been getting progressively better for Newcastle. It's quite a weird scenario because, well, after the January transfer window closed, it then started to get reported by likes of Fabrizio Romano that Newcastle are going to get this deal done. Newcastle agreed personal terms all the way back from last summer, but it was getting reported around February time. And it wasn't just from Romano as well. The likes of the Daily Mail, for example, said that even if Burnley was promoted to the Premier League, Newcastle United will still get this deal done. And even from the likes of Craig Hope, he stated that James Trafford's proposed move to Newcastle United is now expected to be completed without any hitches this summer. Sources have expressed extreme confidence of the transfer going through at the end of the season. And of course, it is now the end of the season. The obvious point being the transfer window has just opened today. But in the build-up to this transfer window, and even today, you just haven't heard anything about James Trafford. In fact, over the last few days, João Garcia, the goalkeeper at Newcastle United, has been linked with from the Spanish journalists saying that Newcastle are prepared to go in for João Garcia. They want to sign him. Of course, this has now fizzled up because of the fact that João Garcia is going to sign for Barcelona. But there's been nothing about James Trafford now. In my personal opinion, I think James Trafford, I would still say at this point, is likely to sign for Newcastle United. I think this is a sign Newcastle will complete. But I don't think this sign is as close as has been suggested in social media. We haven't agreed a fee with Burnley. We haven't actually approached Burnley yet and put an official offer in. And it's not a sign Newcastle has done. So although it's been reported to be done back in February, I don't think it's as close as it's been suggested on social media. But at this stage, I would still say I'm quite confident in get this deal done. But this is quite a weird transfer scenario. It's not something you tend to see very often from football clubs, especially for a player that is not becoming a free agent or a player that's signed at the end of their contract. That's just not the case at all. This is someone that is number one at Burnley. They've just been promoted to the Premier League. And yet, Newcastle, according to several sources, had this deal practically done in February. But of course, it's been quite quiet since the transfer window's open today. But if the sources are correct, we should have some good information come out about James Trafford over the next 10 days before the window closes. And it should be a nailed-on signing, according to how confident and positive these sources were. But in defence to the journalists, we are still currently going under a restructuring process behind the scenes. Paul Mitchell is leaving Newcastle United, and I feel like it's fascinating to say as well that he's likely to go to Howe, which is a football club that is owned on a majority basis by the Public Investment Fund. So even though his time at Newcastle was an absolute shambles, the Public Investment Fund is still happy enough to keep him on. And according to Keith Downey, Eddie Howe will lead the transfer window going forward. Him and Mitchell didn't see eye to eye from the start, and it felt like the relationship had become untenable. I wasn't surprised when I heard last week that Mitchell was planning to step down. It felt like something had to give. This won't change their summer targets as Eddie Howe is leading that up anyway. It probably makes the process more streamlined, but will in the short term mean more work for Eddie Howe and Darren Hughes without Paul Mitchell there to push the deals through. Replacing Darren Hughes as CEO is the more pressing matter, and I can see the club going through the summer window without a replacement for Paul Mitchell. And this is quite a good situation because for the first window, Eddie Howe hasn't got a director of football above him, where Paul Mitchell last summer was undermining transfers. He was talking down to Eddie Howe, talking down even to the Public Investment Fund, going out of his way to say that Lewis Hall, Tino Livramento, these deals were expensive and we could have gotten a cheaper deal. I mean, this is a staff member at the football club that is just saying that we've done a bad job signing these players. And I mean, it's never, ever going to end well. So this is a transfer window for Eddie Howe where it's likely he hasn't got someone above him. So Eddie Howe has full control in his window and there's nobody that's going to backchat him, no one that's going to get in his way and just become a nuisance for him. So Eddie Howe has the control that he wanted last summer. And it'll be interesting to see in this summer whether it'll be quicker or slower getting deals done. And judging by how last summer was, sure you would say it's the first option that deals will get complete on a more quicker and stable basis. However, as Keith Downey said, it means more work for Eddie Howe. And of course, Darren Hughes still needs to be replaced. So unfortunately, we've got a bit of a delay behind the scenes with the CEO situation. Eddie Howe said it himself at the end of the season. Speed is key because we have to be dynamic. We have to be ready to conclude things very quickly because good players don't hang around for long. And that there is the key message at the end of the season. Just got back into the Champions League. The manager has stated himself, the manager who now has full transfer control in the market. We have to be quick to get deals done. And not to disrespect any staff member at the football club, we have to trust Eddie Howe. If there's one person at Newcastle United you want to put your faith, your trust and your confidence in, it would be Eddie Howe because he's the one that's just done wonders over the last few years. And this is a big statement window for him on a personal level, especially in terms of the control behind the scenes at Newcastle. Because if Eddie Howe can have a good transfer window without a director of football, the club will put more trust into the manager. And who knows, maybe we don't get a director of football, maybe we sign a director of football, but a director who has way less control than Paul Mitchell and Dan Ashworth-Howe. And this might now be the Eddie Howe show where Eddie Howe as the manager has the full control in the transfer market. And this is a massive window for our manager to get it done. He had that huge meeting at the end of the season with Al Ruman, of course the chairman at the Public Investment Fund. I would be intrigued and fascinated to hear what sort of conversations we're having, but of course it will be transfer related. Eddie Howe will have a list of targets he wants. We already are aware of probably a good amount of the targets Newcastle won, but it's not about which ones we know, it's about which ones we were saying. And it's Eddie Howe's job now, and of course Newcastle United's job to make sure we can go out in this window. I feel like especially before June the 10th, just to delay our market to try and get some of these bigger targets in straight away. Players like Brian Mbeumo, for example, will not stick around. 12 months left in his contract. Mark Gay is again another example. If teams around us want to sign these players, they will go in there, and Newcastle has to be in there as well. If we aren't in there and we lose out on our key targets, then we'll have a problem for next season. But as we've said already on several occasions, this is Newcastle at their strongest since the takeover. We have a lot of control. Champions League football, just won silverware. We are quite an attractive football club to join. Teams around us, well, you would see around us last season, like some Manchester United, Tottenham, have dropped off big time. I know Tottenham has Champions League football, but in the league, still a bit of an uncertain team. And it's a real opportunity for Newcastle to really put their foot into the transfer market. And I feel like, especially for players as well, it's quite an enticing football club to join. Massive opportunity for Eddie Howe. This is his moment. This is his window, and this will be a real reflection after the window to see how Eddie Howe could do without a director of football, because if he does well, I feel like you have a lot more control of windows going forward. But hopefully this video has been able to tell you guys what's going on, to help you all understand behind the scenes at Newcastle, what's going on with signings, what's going on with Eddie Howe and the current director of football situation, and why the likes of James Trafford perhaps haven't signed yet. But the one thing I don't want to see in social media is a meltdown from our supporters. It is day one of the transfer window. I don't want to see straight away, why have we not made any signs? It's the first day. Give us a chance. We've got a great opportunity to do this. Believe in Eddie Howe. Back Eddie Howe. It's his window, as I just said. It's his opportunity to do the work. And Eddie Howe is the one guy that you would trust to do the work. And I fully expect him to have a great window. I fully expect him to be able to get the signs he wants, and just to make sure we have the backing from the football club. That's the most important part. I feel like he needs the backing from the Public Investment Fund. He hasn't had the backing for 2 years. This season, no immediate restrictions regarding FFP. Give Eddie Howe the players he wants, give him the money that he wants, and just make sure he is able to have the best possible window. And that is how Newcastle United will succeed on the pitch next season.